Good morning. It's Monday, May 7th, excuse me. Tufton Borough Board of Selectmen meeting. Let's begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to ask that this board take a moment of silence. Carolyn Sundquist, long-term employee of the town, former selectman, lost her 37-year-old daughter, a single mom with one child. Let's just take a moment of silence, please. Thank you.
Yeah, certainly our thoughts and prayers are with Carolyn in this difficult time for her. Okay, first item this morning is opening of requests for proposals for auctioneer services. We received 2. First is
it's contractor's name. We're going to go with ourselves.
New Hampshire Tax Deed and Property Auctions. Richard Sager. All right, and the other one is from James R. St. Jane, auctioneers. And Mr. St. Jane is here this morning. Thank you for coming.
You're very welcome.
come on up to the table.
Beautiful.
And we'll chat now.
Again, I thought it necessary to come up just to answer any questions you may have, relative to our proposal.
No,
How far did you have to travel?
We're in Epping, New Hampshire.
Oh, center of the universe.
It's the center of the universe, okay.
Welcome to Tuftonboro.
Thank you. Much more beautiful up here. Nice to come up. We've been doing tax deeded properties for, 15, 20 years. Done them all in the state of New Hampshire. Have vast experience conducting them. Love to do business with you up here. I want to say that Jim and I, my brother, would be more than happy to come up and sit down with you and speak about the properties you have. As part of our proposal, we go out, we look at the properties, formulate an opinion of auction value, come back, sit down with you, and give us our thought, give you guys thoughts as to how to best sell. There's a number of ways to sell tax deeded properties. Most towns, cities elect to do them on Saturday mornings at a public, forum, either at the town hall or at a school within the building, within the town, so all the people can come. So a lot of town folks work during the week, a lot of city folks work, so they want to do them on a Saturday and have the opportunity to get the best bang for your buck and get the most amount of people at the sale. We're conducting one this Saturday, if you're free, down in the city of Rochester. We've got 8 properties we're going to offer up there at absolute auction. I've got materials for each of you for that auction, bidders packets as well as our marketing materials. Also in this packet, I've included sales we've done since January of 2017. A brief description of each auction, what it contained, assessed values, prices realized versus assessed values. So you can take a peek at the numbers and get an idea of what you're in for, what you might realize at the sale. It's broken down by counties. Obviously, southern New Hampshire, a little bit stronger. A lot of investor types down there like to buy at tax deeded sales. And they basically, in this market, they don't have any product. So everybody's looking for a deal, which really doesn't turn into a deal because we're getting probably 30 to 40 people at these sales.
Well, and that's what you want in an auction. more
Yes, you
bidders.
do. And
Actually, what you want is you want 2 very interested bidders for each item you're auctioning, right?
right. And what we find, you're going to find a lot of the butters that want to participate in this process for smaller landlocked pieces. We sell a lot of those pieces. And like you said, Bill, we need 2 people very interested, and it just drives the price up. We've always based our fees at tax deeded sales on buyer's premiums, charging the buyers and not charging the town anything. Typically, cities and towns are taking a haircut as it is because they're owed so much money in taxes. I'm not sure what you have here or how many tax deeded properties you do have, but we're more than happy to come up, sit down, and talk to you about those pieces.
Well, there has been discussion in our town meeting for a couple of years relative to sale of the properties. And there's, of course, a variety of opinions. In my view, as a board, it's important for us to get 2 things: to get the maximum value at sale that we can, because that goes right back into the town coffers, and of course to get them back on the tax rolls. We continue to have people that are interested in sealed bid sale or an opportunity to bid if they're not available for a live auction. And do you encounter that in other sales as well?
Typically, towns go one way or the other. They'll take the landlocked pieces and whatnot and try to sell those by sealed bid. A lot of towns do that, but for the most part, what we're finding now is the towns kind of the cities want to wash their hands of it, turn it over to us, and bring everyone together. I mean, I guess you could do absentee bidding. You could have people submit a bid, with a earnest deposit, for the day of sale, and open those up at the sale and give them an opportunity. Typically, sealed bids, in our opinion, tend to bring less. When you pit people against each other, you get egos involved, and it just it seems to be a better forum to get out these sales.
Yeah, yeah. And I've also heard that from some people that there's seems to be a fair amount of interest in giving the abutters an opportunity to purchase the land.
Prior to the sale.
Well, ultimately.
Mhm.
I guess it seems to me that a live auction gives everybody the opportunity. If the abutter wants it, he's at the sale, he has absolute opportunity to purchase it.
Make it cheaper.
Mhm.
You know, we sell a lot of these landlocked pieces for $500, $700, $800. And, you know, people have found it, you know, savings to be realized. Otherwise, they may come in, put down a bid for $2,500 and cost themselves $1,800. We see that a lot.
Yeah, I'm not sure we can diffuse this sealed bid notion with the conversation. So I think in this particular auction, we're gonna have to do it both ways.
Mhm.
So if we put the pieces out for sealed bid and collect the sealed bids prior to the auction date, and then submit those to the auctioneer, and if they bring less, they bring less.
Mhm.
You know, but I think at least then you've got a concrete example of why a live auction is a better approach.
Right.
And I don't think telling people it's a better approach is gonna work this time, because we've argued about it for too long.
Right.
There's significant differences between the two that I can see. One being that all of the commensurate legal work has to be done by the town, obviously.
Right.
You're not doing it,
No,
so that's an
absolutely
expense.
not. Yes.
So we need to look at what that would entail,
Mhm.
I think.
So Chip, you're saying like solicit for sealed bids?
No, I'm saying after the property's sold.
Right.
Now we have to have a deed created, and all the rest of it, all the legal part of it needs to happen. So that when they cut their check to you for the sale, they have something in return, you know, a deed to the property.
Right, well, they'll pay half the real estate transfer closing costs, you guys won't pay anything. So typically, most of that work's done beforehand, except for the closing.
Oh, I'm sure it is, it's just a
Yeah.
matter of we'd have to do it as opposed to the other bidder had included it in his package as part of his
Right.
job. So we just need to figure out, there are other issues involved with what's called, we have to.
That I don't need to know.
That you don't need to know. The
And
rates-
again, we're not awarding anything today.
Right.
We're collecting proposals and starting the process, and we want to get these properties off the town asset list and back on the tax rolls. We've gone through some fits and starts the last several years with some challenges from various town folks, and we're now in a position where we can do it with clear authority from town meeting, and so we want to get it done this year.
Okay.
When, in your estimation, is there a better time of year than another?
We're in it.
Okay.
You know, before, if you can get it done before school's out and people are heading out on summer vacations and heading here and there, you know, we've got a buck right now for the summer. We really do. I mean, between Grafton, we're all over the state. But I would say if you could do it before the 15th or 20th of June, I would say pick a Saturday, or, you know, if people don't want to do it on a Saturday within town, you choose a Friday. We do them Thursday afternoons, Friday afternoons, but the highest and best buck, in our opinion, is realized on a Saturday.
And do you have time available in that?
Yes, we do.
Okay.
You'll find time.
Yeah, we will find time. June 2nd is we've got one June 2nd for the town of Atkinson, but the 9th and the 16th are wide open at this time. But, you know, I encourage you, if you can get down there to Rochester this Saturday, see how it all works, see how we work, you know, I ask that you do that. I'll leave you with these packets. Any of these towns we've done business with, I urge you to call the town administrators, call the tax collectors, and, you know, speak to them. A lot of them are repeat customers. We just, they roll through them every year or 2 years and call us back, provide us with tax cards, tax maps, we get out there, take a peek at them, come sit down and say, this is what we think you're gonna realize. We've been doing it for over 30 years, and you're buying into experience. Our mailing list is better than any mailing list that exists in this state. So if you have
So
any
you're gonna
questions,
bring bidders in from out of the area?
you'll get some investor types that will come up, and a lot of people like to buy land and bank land. I don't know what your mix is of properties, whether it's, Rochester's got 3 single families, a couple mobile homes, and 3 vacant parcels of land. It's usually a mix,
Yeah.
and it brings different people. And we leave no stone unturned. We try to turn on as many people as we can and, get the best, obviously, working off of buyer's premium. The more it brings,
I've talked to 4 different towns that have had tax sales, the auctions through their company and through some of your competitors. And you're preaching to the choir as far as I'm concerned. I know just in this town, the banks that have foreclosed, and there are houses that I'm absolutely amazed they got, and the bankers have told me, when they go to an auction, it allows these 2 people
right.
to bid against each other.
It's, especially in this market. I mean, it's so strong right now, Lloyd. It's just kind of artificial in our minds, but it's just, prices are so high.
More people than product.
Yes,
Yep.
they certainly are.
Okay.
You've answered all my questions.
Okay.
Yeah, I think, and I guess we need to make a decision sometime in the next couple of weeks.
Yes.
August.
And certainly, if you want Jim and I to come back up and talk about the properties before we make a decision, more than happy to do
And you
that.
have something for us?
Yes, sir.
Thanks.
Well, thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Travel
Thanks for
safe.
having me. I will. Thank you. Pleasure meeting you. Nice meeting you, Jim.
Here.
Thanks, Lloyd.
Nice job.
Thank you. So, have a good day.
All right.
Sold all my stuff in Rochester. I don't know.
What's that?
Sold everything I owned in Rochester. I don't want to go back.
Yep, an opportunity to get back in that market.
No, thank you.
There you go. All right. All right. And move on to public input. Any public input? All right. Review and approval of minutes from April 23rd.
I'm all set on the April
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we accept the minutes as drafted.
20th. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion carried.
And I apologize, I did put 5-4, but they are not ready yet. I didn't write
No
them
Yeah,
down.
5-4 is short terms are right around on Friday, so we'll deal with that next
Let me
week.
see if Jack's
Yeah,
available.
if you would.
Jack?
Yeah.
Good morning, sir.
Business is good, huh?
Business is good. We have 25 building permits so far. All right, I think it's 4 or 5 new houses with this one. I've done 132 inspections. The windows in this building are gonna be cleaned this week. So I notified them up front. And then the septic system for the library, I talked to the gentleman, who's gonna put it in, he said in the next 2 to 3 weeks he'll start. He was just waiting for it to dry out, because
Okay.
they make a mess getting it out there, so.
And we've gotten off the problem of connections and pipe.
Yeah, I told him, I said the only issue is gonna be the elevation of the tank, and it's not a big deal because it's a pump system, so it's not gravity to the field. It's just making sure that it'll be low enough to gravity
From the building into the
From-
tank.
from the proposed addition if it's built, so we can get to the tank
Yeah.
by gravity without pumping, so.
And the doors,
Not till next week on the bids.
The bid's in next,
Oh, I'm sorry.
next Monday.
This Friday, yeah, so then we've only received one.
Okay.
Boat ramps.
Boat ramps.
Lower Mirror Lake's all done. Been used, I saw some tracks going out beyond it, so that's been used.
Did the same vendor do both?
Moody did that.
Did Moody also do the one?
Yeah, he did the one in Melbourne.
I've heard nothing but compliments about the.
Yeah, I don't know,
It was busy.
people have used it, so if it works well, but,
Ice is out.
Right.
Yeah.
yeah, it is. So, yeah, I called the one on Mirror Lake, I've called the state and told them those they just need to be called
Yeah.
in, so. They haven't heard anything.
It's rather interesting. I was talking to someone who owns property on Mirror Lake who was pretty outspoken about it and whatnot. When I took a look at it, boy, he's changed his mind. The time that a vehicle goes in, unloads, pulls out, their safety window is so small, it's an improvement, so.
Yeah, they shouldn't be get stuck in the mud now, so.
Right.
And they put a diverter on the pavement, so all the water diverts to the trenches on either side of the concrete. so.
Yep. Would it be appropriate to send a letter to Jeff? This is 2 projects that he's done and certainly has sound.
Well, Matt Young did the one in Melville.
Right.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
he got the contract to do that, and I
Right.
subbed it out to Jeff, and Jeff did this one, and
Okay.
the estimate that we got for Jeff's work on Mirror Lake was a lot higher than what was actually charged. I mean,
Yeah.
substantially different.
Yeah. So, for sure, we ought to send him a
Yeah,
letter.
from Mirror Lake, correct.
Thanks for your work.
Yep.
Or check. Probably like to check just as well.
Well, I actually
Yeah.
checked in the other one, he volunteered all his labor.
Oh, he did?
He actually charged the materials to our account at a pit in Ossipee, so we just got the bill for that, and it was
So
like,
we need to do something for Jeff.
yeah, so it was a lot different than the estimate. I didn't do the estimates before, but Ben Ladd had them all.
Yeah.
But what we had the warrant article for and what was actually cost, big difference. I mean, the paving was a little bit more than the estimate because it was done in 2016.
And the end.
And the concrete was done a little bit more. It was like $185 more on the concrete and $400 more on the pavement, so.
I remember the engineer a couple of years ago for the state, it was a $35,000 project.
Yeah.
And here again, we have people who've stepped up and helped the town.
Well, it's, and as I drive by it, it's a definitely improvement over what was there.
Oh, certainly.
But it's a minimalist approach, which is hopefully appropriate to the situation. The concrete does not extend into the water, right, just down
It
the
goes
water.
to, well, it went to the edge of the water, but the edge of the water is now a little bit further down.
Right. But, so hopefully it will be a significant improvement over what we had.
Oh, yeah.
Divert all the runoff into the selling areas off to the side and make it safer to launch the boats and keep the lake cleaner, which
Yeah.
is what it's all about. Anything else for,
Thank you for your
Right.
efforts.
Okay,
Was Matt Young's also,
I'm sorry?
was Matt Young's project also under the estimate?
Yes, or right
at the estimate.
Yeah.
right at the-
That was
Yeah,
done last
yeah,
year.
last year.
But their estimate was substantially less than what
Oh, anybody else?
Track
I just wanted
engineering.
to give credit where credit was due.
Right.
I was saying about one person, I didn't know.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yep. Okay. Mr. Gallagher, come on down.
Come on down.
Look at this, it's got big paper.
Oh, good papers, so that's
Thank you.
good news for Too many papers.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
Two separate packs here. The monthly totals for April, $6 solid waste compactor, that's down a little bit. 10 CD containers up a couple, and 2 plastic containers. We had 1 scrap metal pickup, 8.2 tons, which we got revenue of $735 out of. Cash revenues through the end of April are $18,056. And as you can see on the specific sheet wrap up, all the red, I don't have the waste management amounts and fees yet. I'll update that for the record when I get them. And the second page is yearly total. 28 solid waste containers, 28 CD, 9 plastic. General info items, which hopefully we'll go over real quick. It was a really windy winter and late fall. We had a lot of trash up there, and I started 2 weeks ago coordinating, and got scheduled right now for the cleanup to be on the 19th of May. So I'll do that with the sergeant up there. I'm also going to ask him about the possibility of doing some of the roadway.
171,
Yeah.
maybe a couple miles in each
Yeah.
direction.
I don't know that he'll be able to do it that day.
No.
But I will definitely ask him about that. The Quonset hut is scheduled to be painted, sandblasted and painted on the 1st of June. Or in the first week of June.
Is there a leak that needs to be repaired?
There is a leak. We'll try to find it and have him fix it. Most likely there's in those steel corrugations, there's a transparent strip that goes along in there to let light in, and it's most likely around the edge of that someplace.
Well, I know that he fixed broken wood and on your other building, so
Yeah, that's included in the price. So, the cable.
who is the vendor that's doing that?
Wentworth, Dave Wentworth, yeah.
Could you give his name and phone number to Karen? And if it's okay with the board, Karen, could you contact Mr. Wentworth and see what his plans are for the painting
We're keeping it
here in
simple.
town?
Yes, yeah.
There's the buildings,
Gunmetal gray.
there's the public works buildings, and there's also the bridge on County Road.
Well, you want it a different color?
Well, I was, maybe a little.
And you want me to ask, did you want me to ask him?
Yeah, that's, I mean, it's open, it's, he hasn't ordered the
It might not be
materials.
quite so apparent if it were closer, like a green or something that kind of matched up with the buildings that we have. I just don't know, and it just came into my mind that maybe we should think about a color.
Different from the buildings and the,
Different from gunmetal gray.
okay. Well, the buildings we have are gray,
Yeah. but
gray and white.
They don't seem so metallic, I guess.
Yeah, I asked them to do the same color that's on the buildings,
Okay.
rather than the steel gray,
Okay.
so it would match the fuel shed, which is right next to it.
All right.
I'll see if I can get them to match
Should
that.
we hire a decorator? I mean, does that? White yellow? For the transfer station?
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. You get cable.
Yes, I re-looked at the last message, and the last message they said was the last week in May, the construction phase was going to be done. I'm sure that's waiting time for a time requirement for inputs from the subs who own the poles and each individual thing, so that should be coming along fairly quickly. And then it takes, I think it's 15 days after that for them to install and hook up. So it's mid-June probably. Highland Day right now is scheduled for 21 July. I have touched base with Frankie, and he's still willing to do the same haul for us on that day. I'm waiting on Waste Management to coordinate the free container. They do that gratis. And it's good advertisement for them and good for us. So
This year, they're gonna not wait 2 or 3 days before they lug the containers off?
no, it's whatever is in their best interest. What they have done has been flexible, and they don't charge us for anything else that was thrown in there or any illegal stuff.
Remember last year, they forgot.
Yeah, and I've always tried to get them to drop it Saturday morning before and pick it up at noon that day,
Yeah.
but you know, that's their off day and so they will tend to drop it on Friday and pick it up on Monday.
Okay. Thank you for trying.
Hazardous waste, Dave's here. I was going to brief that the 2 dates are on 26 July and 4 August with times and locations to be determined, but we now have they've printed out all the charts for the options for hazardous waste for all our residents.
Nice job, thank you.
And the 20,
28th,
is that the 28th?
Saturday.
Yeah, it should be 28.
The recite
Okay.
hazardous waste.
Yeah, I said the 28th. On my notes, should be the 28th July.
Right.
And 4 August. And 4 August. On the 28th of July, we'll be in Meredith. And that's from 8:30 to noon. And the
Is that
August.
is that the Meredith Transfer Station?
yes. And that gets to be a real traffic jam
Oh, yeah.
up there. So, the 4th of August, will be at, oh, Oxby's not doing it?
Yeah, there are 4 sites open each day.
I have it here on
It doesn't
the,
have Oxby on there.
Uh,
Molten Borough.
it looks like Belmont,
Ospey
Franklin.
Highway
Oh,
Garage.
okay, I'm sorry.
So it's in July, it's in Belmont, Franklin, Guilford, and Meredith.
Okay,
And in August, it's in Ospey, Molten Borough, Bristol, and Laconia.
okay. So August 4th will be the primary date for us.
And Carrie will be representing the town.
Carrie will be representing the town. There is a meeting coming up.
Yeah, this
And
Wednesday.
Carrie's gonna get together with Dave, because I don't think he can attend that meeting, but he will get together with Dave before that.
Yeah, and those are open 8:30 to
8:30 to noon.
And as Clay pointed out, last year, Molten Borough, Meredith is very busy.
Yeah.
People can go to whichever site is most convenient to them. There's Clay's, and I agree with him, recommending that folks from Tuftonboro might find Ospey the easiest spot to go to.
Most convenient.
Meredith, Molten Borough last year did get very busy. We had 50% increase in usage. And
That's because they put their police traffic sign out for 2 weeks, and they had it advertised on
Yeah.
25. And I mean, it was just overwhelmed Marlboro, so.
Yeah.
You know,
And we're working to address that, but
Well, the good news is you got good participation, which
Yeah.
is, we want to keep
Indeed.
this stuff out of the ditches and the backyards. And,
yeah,
uh,
the bad news is that we still have to do it.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, it's still being produced.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The other thing is that Wolfboro is still available.
Right, and that's the next thing. Wilkboro is still available from the third Saturday of the month from May through October.
I think I was told there were 24 families that went over there last year. They just paid.
Right, you pay as the going rate, whatever the going rate is. Okay, so we'll get these posted and up, and start advertising with the time and location for each as soon as we can. I'm also working the CIP issue for next year for the compactor 1 replacement.
How old is that?
That is since 1997. So it's
20 years.
It's been repaired once.
yeah, it's been repaired once, and we had to reuse the part that they threw away
Mhm.
because they don't build it anymore. That size piston. With the price of steel going up, it has gone up price, and we're looking at around $22,000 today's price, which could go up even more depending upon the steel.
Mhm.
The steel's a major deal with it, but I can get that, and I'm gonna talk with them to get that price down a little bit by reusing the current hopper that we have rather than fabricating a new hopper that feeds into the container down below. If we can reuse and the current hopper that we have, that's about $4,000 subtraction, so we can get it down to maybe 18. But I would count on the 22 plus. It's not going to get any cheaper by the end of next year.
Did he give you any
So,
estimate how long it'll be out of service?
I think we could do it on a Thursday and Friday, you know, and have it all done and not impact we'll have to time it a little bit so we can get that container cleaned out, get the area cleaned out on Wednesday while we're open, be ready for Thursday morning start and hopefully have it back up and running by Saturday. So,
Well, that's a short turnaround.
yeah, they're pretty good for that. I'm gonna have them come up and do a servicing on all of our machines. And when they do the servicing on all the machines, I'm gonna have them get all the information they need from us relative to the new compactor coming in. I.e. 3-phase, how many volts, what are the hookups, and have all that stuff done by then, so there's no confusion and no, we pull everything out and we can't do this because we don't have an electrician to do this. I'm gonna have them do all of it, so. And it'll make it a little bit easier.
Now, if we should have to operate with one compactor, I mean, be open all day with one compactor, and there was a time, of course, before you or I were around when we only had one compactor. Is there a way to switch those out
We can,
on site?
we can with the backhoe,
Yeah.
we can pull a full compactor out, but it's only gonna go straight ahead. We're not gonna be able to pull it, turn, depending upon the wheels underneath the back of that compactor, if they're working, or some of them work, some of them don't work.
And once you're off
You
the
know.
cement, there's issues.
Right, with how hot the asphalt is, or the tar, whatever they call it here.
Yeah.
I got corrected on that a few times.
Yeah.
But, so you have to be very careful. And if we have a spare container, it's very easy with the backhoe to, if you have enough room to get it around there and turned in straight. And
There is a way to do it. It's not elegant, it's not
Correct.
real efficient, but it's,
Correct.
if your choice is you're shut down or you can,
Right, right. Now, I would not count on that for a very long period of time.
Right.
In other words, I wouldn't run the compactor till it broke,
right,
and then, because we would be.
We need to be proactive.
That would kill us, yes.
Right.
I would rather schedule the replacement of that compactor, that way we would minimize the possibility of having to do that. In that particular case, it may be, you know, it may be, if it's gonna be for an extended period of time, to our advantage to look at, you know, possibly getting one of those container trucks, one of those trucks to be up here,
yeah.
so that they could do that, or have a deal with Waste Management where they're gonna be real flexible, you know, and have the capability of stopping by here and just dropping one out.
Well, if worse came to worse, you could always use one of the construction containers.
Well, that's not,
It wouldn't- it
yeah,
wouldn't
we
compact
can, but it's not,
It wouldn't compact it, and it's not ideal, but it is a backup.
right. In the case of an emergency, you know, we've done it for 1 and 2 bags, but the problem is the birds and all that stuff. If it sits overnight,
Yep.
they'll get in there and there'll be crap all over the place, which we've been pretty good at keeping it clean over there, so. Well, NRA conference is on the 21st. Anything more on the compactor? Okay. NRA training conference is on the 21st. May in Manchester. I'm the only one going with that. Everybody else has attended training at LRPC and have their annual training requirements complete. So we're good for the year after I get done with the, and I figured one person should go down there and get the agenda and all the notes and bring it back.
Sure.
So I volunteered to do that. Next, second page, glass machine options. I've been working real hard on this. It's very time consuming because you don't get the information back from anybody in a timely fashion. Waste Management and Casella, they all have to, flow all their material and anything they say or any option they present. They have to flow everything through legal and then through contracts and then through proposal. So it's taking me some time to get the information. We basically have three options, which I see, and I'm working very hard. The first option was Atlantic Recycling to repair or replace the parts of the glass machine. The problem with that is right now, with the current glass machine, we're spending, for the monies, guys, we're spending $30 a ton to get rid of our glass, plus a town truck to and from Wakefield, whatever cost that is, eaten by the, the way we've had the arrangement here. But there is a cost of that, and that has to be added. If we fix the machine, we're going to fix it with cannibalizing an older machine or as old machine that's been sitting outside. So you're fixing an old machine with an old part that's
No
could fall
guarantee.
apart. We could spend $3,000 fixing that machine, and then 2 days later I can call you up and say, oops, it's toast. So that's one option. I feel it proper to study that and have that as a possibility. The next option is to work with Waste Management to get a 30-yard container outside where we used to have the mixed paper and we used to have the steel tin cans. So it'll be a two-stop for recycling. That will that would basically, I do know that Waste Management has approved they will haul the material from here over to Wakefield, drop it, and then bring the container back and place it Thursday, Friday, or Monday, because that's when Wakefield is open for that service.
And that's when you're closed, so.
And that's when we're closed, so it's no effect to us.
The public.
I'm trying to work a deal with Waste Management where we consolidate that, where they come up with a tandem load of a compactor and a CD, drive it up to the station, dump the cans, take the trailer off, pick the glass up because you can only haul one container of glass. Two would be too heavy. Go to Wakefield, swap it out, bring it back, place the empty can, and then
eliminate the deadhead for Rochester.
Yeah, eliminate the deadhead, saves them money, saves us money. They're very grateful about that. But I'm still waiting for the cost that it's going to cost us to get the glass container from here to Wakefield and back. When I get that, we'll still have the $38 a ton through NRA to crush the glass at Wakefield. So the only thing we add on is we take that cost out of Jim and the road agent for supplying the town truck, and we add the cost of Waste Management into us. So it's almost a push. It may be a little bit more, depending upon how much Waste Management charges. And I gave some numbers there again for the numbers. We get rid of about 80 tons of glass a year. Okay, the way we do it right now, it's a real figure. If you just figure it off the top of your head, $100 instead of $105 a ton to get rid of the compactor. That would be $8,000. We take those 80 tons away from the compactor and we send it up to Wakefield to be ground up at $30 a ton. So 30 times 80 is $2,400. So we save $5,600, right? So if we add and do that same addition multiplication function with waste management, we're gonna have the $30 a ton plus whatever they charge, and it'll reduce that $5,600 of avoided costs that you save down to about $2,500. I figure it'll probably cost about $2,500 for waste management to get that material, depending on how many tons, and I'm assuming probably 10 tons.
And because it hasn't been crushed, you're not gonna get as much.
You're not gonna get as much.
container.
You're gonna have 10 hauls, $250 a haul, that's what I figured. It's probably gonna cost us around $2,500. So take $2,500 from the 56, and that's what it cost us. That versus the risk of fixing the machine and then having to break too much of them anyway. So the third option is to put glass in with a solid waste, $100 a ton. I don't think we want to do that. It sends a bad message because it's not being recycled, and it's costing us more money. So at this time, we're obviously leaning heavily towards option B.
So the notion is to never replace the glass crusher that we have?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
So wouldn't
Oh,
we-
most of the other towns that take it to Wakefield don't crush it beforehand. We're the only town that does.
Yeah.
That everybody's gotten rid of those machines.
Well, if you're just slipping it into an open container, you
It's
can
easy.
put backhoe down to reduce the volume.
Right, right. Well, I mean, we'll probably use a cement block or something and try to crush a little bit and get as much as we can to reduce the number of trips.
So if we're never gonna replace the crusher that we have, wouldn't we be better off making some arrangement so that the glass recycling happens the same way it does now and it goes into an open container?
No. And I'll tell you the reason why. You're gonna have, the other issue you brought up a while back was noise,
Right.
right? And people have to take 35-gallon, and if you watch these people, they're taking 35-gallon containers full of glass bottles and having to drag them in all the way across the side of the
Interior.
recycling area, and then try to lift them up to dump them in the chute. This way, they'll be able to drive right around, right next to the container, take it off, or dump it right from their flatbed into the 30-yard container.
Containers.
Hmm?
So we're
Yep.
we're accommodating the heavy drinkers, is that what we're doing?
Yeah.
Well, no, and there's a lot of people that hold them
Collect?
and collect them,
Yeah.
and
Or
you
do
know,
glass.
I mean,
Home
yeah,
brewed, right.
there's some that come in with the trucks with a flatbed back
Right,
that
I'm fine with that.
that are all stacked out. I mean, it's
Yeah.
so it solves a bunch of issues if we go with, and I think the public would like it better.
Well, we'll find out.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it's not, but whatever we do, I'd like to do it before we start the summer.
So you are changing the flow pattern slightly.
Yeah, it's just gonna be stop here and then drive around the corner and stop here. So there's a lot of people that do that anyway because they have lots of cardboard and they bring the cardboard in
Yep.
the back door, so. I think that will, I don't think you'll get many complaints. I think you'll get a lot of attaboys, because it's gonna make it easier to get rid of the glass.
Right.
Certainly gonna be quieter too.
And there's no market for paper. So we're not
That's my last item.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mixed paper. I'm sitting here praying. We have room enough left to store 2 more bales of mixed paper. And then we're gonna have to start seeking alternate storage, which isn't convenient to loading trucks, which we have, but NRA is working very hard and trying to get us a sample to a mill that's down in Massachusetts that's working with them. And I don't know if we have that or not yet. I should know shortly. they were waiting for the new prices to come out. They came out the last Friday, the first Friday of the month. And they weren't gonna take any. I've sent pictures down. I had to send pictures down again. I had to use my phone, but I ended up sending pictures down to NRA and they forwarded them to this new mill. We will be the trial run. They had one run in before that they did not like from somebody else because it had cardboard in it. And I said, we don't do that. Ours is hand sorted, and you know, we do the best of our, yeah. And so I can keep you posted on that. As soon as I find
So
out.
if we don't have a market for the paper, where do we put it?
Is there still,
you know,
is there still a market for newsprint?
No, not particularly. I mean, it's gonna be the same market for mixed paper, only it's gonna be less money. And people can't even pay to get rid of it. There's no place to take it. So, if we don't get a shipment, you know, I foresee at some point in time closing the mixed paper, and all the mixed paper goes in the hopper. I mean, that's what everybody else is doing.
Yeah. There's no waste to energy place that will take it.
No, nothing.
It's clean.
I mean, nothing. You know, I've tried every hauler, you know, every Casella, Waste Management, NRA. I've tried everything to find an avenue for it.
I asked this question at the last TAC meeting. 23 towns were there, and every town is facing the same circumstance.
Yeah, that's your experience too, right, Dave?
Most recyclables, it's a difficult market for them.
When a lot of people change to single screen, it really kind of screws the pooch, okay? Because you throw glass in, you throw cardboard in, you throw everything gets contaminated. And the mills got so tired of taking loads and paying for loads that they end up not being able to use because it was contaminated. And even that stuff goes out and then it's hand sorted and all that, but there's still glass in it. There's still broken glass in it. There's still cardboard. Everything is mixed, and it's caused all the mills to be very selective on what they do take. And then China has really put a crimp in it. So you know, we have to be flexible, whatever comes up. But we may end up in a short period of time, you know, King's Xing on the paper and having people throw it for contact.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, we need a motion to instruct him to stop using the glass crusher and go to the alternate method as soon as possible. Or how is it appropriate?
Well, the idea I
Can
got
you
is you're
Can you do a motion to approve that if we get reasonable prices back?
Sure. I mean, I think that's fine.
That gives us the.
Yep.
And you're gonna determine reasonable.
Right, well, it's either, if we go past neutral and we have to pay for it,
You gotta come back here.
no, I'll come back here.
Okay.
But, you know, if I don't foresee that.
I'm talking about stopping using the glass crusher.
Yes, if we have to, if it's gonna cost us money from the way we're doing it, or from putting all the glass in the compactor.
Right.
If it's gonna cost us that, then I'm gonna come back here. If it's anything less than that, then then you're gonna prove that we can do it for the most economic option that utilizes recycling.
And that includes your avoided cost in the calculation.
Correct.
Not
Correct.
just cash.
Correct.
Okay. Certainly makes sense to me.
Yep. So I'll entertain a motion to that effect.
So moved.
And I'll second, and just for conversation on that, we gotta get rid of the glass crusher anyway, because we're gonna have some safety issues.
And noise issues.
All the rest of it.
Right.
Yep.
We do have a metal pile.
Yep. Okay.
Whatever that means.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
So, what was it, safety issues and?
And
Yeah.
noise.
Noise.
Yeah.
No, that,
That,
and
that's
noise,
coming.
yes.
I mean, you know, we've been lucky to survive as long as we did with that. I
Yes.
think so.
Okay. Anything else for?
Yes.
Go ahead.
We have two pieces of paper in our file today, and I want to make sure you have a copy of them. First of all, it's a letter from Land Abutter about the breakout
Okay.
that it's down below your facility.
Yeah, I've heard that.
Right. And there's also a copy of the Stantec report.
Correct. The copy of that was sent, it was a single page letter that's going on top of the report or going into DBS.
Yeah, and that was the big thick report.
Yeah, and I think that referenced the November inspection and that the wells were clean and no PFAS in the wells. They're going to, which is good news, that he said that in a copy of the
Now,
law.
as I understand it, the
That was November.
Yeah, we previously, a previous board had added some money to do testing with, concerning the breakout, correct?
Right, that has not, yeah, and I don't think we've gotten that
And
yet.
those samples have been taken, but we haven't got the report on it yet.
Correct.
Okay. At some point, would it be appropriate for Dave Allwine from Stantec, you, because
Right.
your industrial site is close by, and Steve Wingate all have a conversation with us?
Sure,
As I understand it, the preliminary observations from the Conservation Commission is that there aren't animals dying, plants dying, it's not 3 Mile Island.
Right.
Okay, but it's still, you know, it,
Yeah, and I think the appropriate person is Dave Allwine to come in, because he speaks that language. I mean, you know, I start reading that report and it gets to the tables and I'm gonzo.
yeah, it's all out for
I
that.
mean,
Well, and this is it's a significant watershed. I mean, that's
Yeah, right.
great.
Exactly.
Right. So I would recommend that we bring him in and get any interested party.
But here again,
He can answer questions.
there are those two pieces of paper that are in our correspondence, so
Right,
Karen will give you copies of it.
okay.
There's another thing is, and I have to be complimentary to you and your staff.
Look, that'll hurt.
Um,
No, I'm sorry.
I wait until I see something 3 times before I bitch about it.
Okay.
I won't tell you what color hair he is or what color pickup he drives, but this individual, where people alternate from the swap shop,
Yeah.
go down to the metal pile. Twice now, once you and once one of your workers, you very nicely spoke to the guy and said, you know,
Right, I've had to tell one
Let me
or a few
finish.
people a couple times too.
what he does is, I've now 3 times have seen him come back and he parks the truck right in front of the swap shop. And I ain't too smart, but it's obvious to me that he's trying to annoy people. First of all, my compliment to you and your staff, but, you know, the swap shop and the metal pile shouldn't have to be something that just takes up so much of your time. So,
Wasn't you?
no.
I can be very annoying.
No.
That's what I
No,
should-
there's a couple issues.
So I'll let you speak.
There's a couple issues there. The transfer station is kind of like, sometimes becomes a social mecca. And 2 or 3 guys see each other and they're parked right in the middle of stuff. And, you know, having a conversation and they go on for a while. And that's an easy fix. Usually I just go up to one of them and say, hey, if you guys are gonna jack, can you move the cars around the side? Because
Not other people in.
especially in the summertime, we can't have that, like, because we'd be overloaded. And so usually they go around the end of the building. So that issue is easy and the way we do it is fine. We've had a constant, discussion about, we wanna be the friendly place. We wanna be the nice place. And there's always gonna be a couple of people that take advantage. But, you know, picking out of the metal pile and staking stuff up, could be a liability issue.
Well, a town not far from here last year had someone severely injured climbing in the plow.
Yeah.
Like climate.
Oh, yeah, they
Yeah.
fell in the hill.
Yeah, they fell in the,
Container.
and the container had an engine fall on top of it. They were trying to push I think they were trying to push a motor block out of the back of a pickup truck into a container.
Yeah.
And he was standing on the back of the pickup trying to push it off, and his glove got stuck, and it pulled him in, and he beat the motor to the bottom. Not good.
Just can't plan
So,
on this.
right. So, and the way we've operated down there, it's been, yeah, if you see something, you know, and you can use it, then that's fine. But it's very easy to figure out who's down there trying to hawk our metal pile for the heavy scrap to go scrap it. And again, they park right in the middle, and they'll take an hour and a half. And a couple times I've had to chase the same individual out of the 15-yard container. They climb up on the side, lean over, and try and pull stuff out of them. And when we see them, we make corrections in it. That is frustrating, but again, we can't be every place, all the time.
Right. Other transfer stations have rats.
Right.
We don't
Yeah, exactly.
count our blessings.
Yeah.
Good point.
So,
You understand I'm being complimentary
Right.
and not criticized.
yeah, and our policy has been, if you see something in the metal pile, and if you want it, you could use it, just come and ask us. We'll go down with a backhoe, we'll pull it out with a backhoe, everybody will be safe, and you can have it, and if you're gonna use it. But if you're down there trying to take 10 air conditioners, that are obviously old and don't work, there's only one reason for you doing that, and you're stealing from the town. Basically, that's town property once it's put down there. So, it's frustrating when you have to.
Well, thank you for listening.
All right.
And the swap shop, I just want to make clear for television, for YouTube, for everything. The swap shopping is open, weather dependent. The doors are closed at 3:30. We start closing down to close the gate at 4 going out. The first place we have to close is the swap shop, because can be a very social mecca. And I had somebody jump all over me. First, Barry explained to her very nicely that the swap shop closes at 3:30, and it's always closed at 3:30. No, it hasn't. You're open till 4, open the doors. And Barry said, you need to talk to Clay. So, she came over and talked to me, and I tried to explain the same thing to her. We have to start shutting down. This is a process. Doesn't matter whether it's 3 in the afternoon, 4, whether we close the gate at 5, whether we close. There's always going to be somebody that's trying to drive in while you're closing. So the time is, we're at the gate at 4 o'clock, and we have to start shutting stuff down. So the swap shop is closed at 3:30.
So post it.
Yeah, make sure there's a sign up.
Well, the sign keeps flying off the side. It's so windy up there, it's hard to keep signs,
All right, well, there's gotta be a way that we
Yeah.
can
Rivet something.
better
What-
advertise the
last one was-
information.
Yeah.
Yep,
We'll,
so,
yeah.
yep,
Or we could have Rob spray paint it like
yeah,
closed.
yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure everybody understood that. It's open as soon as we can get it open in the morning to the flow, and it closes at 3:30.
3:30.
Okay.
Thank you for your efforts to make a difference.
Thanks, Clay.
Yeah.
Okay, next, LRPC, come on down.
Okay. Hey, David. Hi there.
Welcome back. Hi, ma'am, I'm Lloyd Wood.
This is Aaron Daly.
Aaron.
Good
Hi, Aaron, how are you?
So
He's our assistant
Yeah.
planner.
Culvert study.
Yep.
Aaron keeps everybody straight.
That's right.
He's back. We're back. And so RSMS,
Yep.
Road Surface Management System. Where, again, it is a assessment system developed and refined in a partnership with DOT and T-Squared Technology, UNH Technology Transfer. They do the software, and that has evolved over the years. RSMS has been around since the 90s, and it's become less of a static, simple assessment and more of a dynamic forecasting tool and budgeting tool. And we're very pleased with where it's at. And we're looking forward to working with Putnam Borough on this.
So is this an annual, or biannual, or triennial, or?
It is done an initial assessment, and then the real power of this is forecasting. And what Aaron, with the software, what we'll be able to do is to work through and develop a 10-year, working with you and different strategies, a 10-year schedule of here are different road maintenance and repairs on the paved roads. And then it's really up to you, the town. We did say that we would, and it forecasts, okay, here's the degradation, the anticipated degradation of these roads based on where they are now and based on repairs that might be done at any particular time. And then we said, in our contract, we said that we would check in with you.
So is there a way for us to manually, I mean, let's say we rebuild 1.5 miles of Derby Road tomorrow. Can we then enter that information of what we've done into your matrix, and then it alters the ongoing plan, or is it that active?
It would, what we anticipate doing, it is set up so that the data entry and manipulation has to come through the RTC. And we would look to do that one easy way is if you just simply say, send in, this is the work that we did. You know, we were scheduled to do this, we did this year. Next year you say, well, we were scheduled to do this, but something happened, so we had to modify it. And then that could be entered in and a modified report, and if need be, we could sit down and spend a little time and readjust things. We wouldn't be looking to do a wholesale readjustment unless it's really necessary. But the updating, yes, we can do that.
So then we'd get an annual report, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
We'd get an annual report from you?
We would work with you each year to update
Yeah.
update.
Actually, I think what we talked about is sitting down with you once a year. Maybe if you're still working on Aaron, in an interactive session, so that if I understand or remember it correctly, the real power of this thing is once you get the baseline data in there, the model estimates the costs of repairs. So you can try different scenarios, say, well, you know, we want to spend $230,000 a year, so it estimates that, and it also models the deterioration of the road surface going forward. So that we can look at today's road condition and anticipated improvements going forward, and what do the roads look like in 7 years or in 10 years? And based upon some of the inputs that we're going to be providing, like traffic counts, as well as past pavement maintenance activities, then that should be a good tool for us to kind of roadmap the right areas to do our repaving in.
Right. But it sounds like it's more than one general survey. I mean, I can see you going out tomorrow and doing a general survey of our roads, coming up with a condition, and then recommendations, if you will. But to really get into the deterioration, I think a year or two from now, you're gonna have to look at it all again and see what happened.
Well, I think that's the aging of the roads is built into the model.
Yes.
When we input the various historical data. Now, in 5 years, we may, at that point, say, you know, the model is
Right.
enough out of whack that we want to come back and at least look at some of the roads and go back and tweak the data.
I think that that's a more realistic situation, that yes, 5 years from now, you would see some differences. And for each, well, you can talk about the process, but basically for each quarter mile of road, there's assessment done, and depending on, and a pavement condition index, PCI, is developed 0 to 100, and based on that, some recommendations are made in terms of what type of repair or maintenance strategy would be appropriate there, and how much that's likely to cost per square foot or square yard. And then that factors into you then say, okay, well, our road network is at 79 pavement condition index. We like it where it is, so we want to keep it there, and we've got this budget, and we want to keep it there, or we want to have a 1% increase each year or something. And so then there's a good deal of back and forth between, usually between Aaron and the road agent, figuring out, okay, here are the strategies that I would tend to use in this situation, and then come up with recommendations. And when it comes up with that 79, and it might come up with 79 for this segment of Union Wharf Road, and you can then say, it can then look at over the next 9 years, this is the anticipated, this is what's going to happen if you did nothing to it. But if in the 3rd year you did this repair to it, it'll bump it up, and then you would see some of that degradation again, and maybe you do a couple different strategies.
So you're also doing market studies as far as costs are concerned?
So that's through the state system. So
The state
states,
does it.
yeah, they work with a few paving companies, and
Primarily all state paving?
yeah, and they work with them closely to figure out what the increase of cost would be over that 10-year period, and what it is now on average. So the past municipalities that we've worked for have said that it's accurate, the pricing for all that, so.
And actually, there was a fair amount of input from Molten Borough's road agent, in terms of what he pays for, and so there was some working with T-Squared and Allstate Paving, coming up with, okay, what's the appropriate cost, and actually I think he used the paving strategy that wasn't on the list.
Yeah, and if there's a cost that your town can use that is less than what they have or more, if the cost is different and you know that it's different, we can just input that in and have that be changed, yeah.
But it does save us the issue of having to go out and bid out our paving, although I think, when was the last time we did that? I think they've been using Carroll forever.
I think when I was, the first time I was selectman, we asked for prices, and Carroll was the best. As a matter of fact, Carroll actually sent a letter to the town thanking, because Jim was a fairly new road agent then.
But if we know what the price is,
Yep.
then we've got some control over Carroll. We're gonna continue to use Carroll,
Sure.
or whoever we use,
Yep.
because we've got at least a baseline of cost.
Exactly.
Yep. And alternative paving methods, Lloyd had brought to the table a couple of times this notion of, I don't know what
Sand.
it was, rubberized cement or
Yes.
something.
Speaking of the powers to be in Moultonborough, in Ossipee, they did 5 miles, Allstate did, using the SAM method.
That's
Did you-
part of it's on our list already,
Right.
so.
So alternatives are in there for us to take a look at.
Yeah, I have a list of the ones that are currently in the forecasting system. Like I said, it can be added to. So I only have 2 copies of it if you guys want.
I'll give
But
them back.
Let me make some copies. I'll be right back.
We have, so there are about 20 different. Yeah, and
Different maintenance
we-
strategies, right?
Different maintenance
Yeah.
strategies, and, you know, we have worked with some communities where they said, you know, there's no way we're going to use this, you know, or these are the half-dozen strategies that we typically use. That's what we're used to, that's what we're comfortable with. Okay,
And a
those would-
PCI, I'm sorry,
Mhm.
PCI limit is what?
So when we go out and we assess the roads in your town, it will, once we put that in the forecasting system, comes up with a pavement condition index. That's the PCI. Yep, and then when we go in to select the certain pavement maintenance program for it, we look at the PCI, and the limit is, let's say the PCI is 98. We're gonna look in the limit between 95 and 100. So those types of treatments are gonna be what would be applicable for that type of road right there. And then if it's a very low PCI, you're looking at full depth reconstruction options.
Great.
And we can supply, I think we may have already supplied some more detailed
Yeah.
definitions of what these are as opposed to just their simple name, but, and some of the conditions under which, for example, some of them, it doesn't work very well if it's a shady road. It needs full sunshine to work well. So, you know, that one would be off the table, so.
But that's
sure it's-
generated from Aaron's side of the table, right? So you wouldn't recommend something that wouldn't work? You're not gonna give us
Correct.
5 recommendations,
Correct.
pick one,
No,
and one of them just is not good?
no.
All right.
In talking with the road agent from Ossipee, they did go to Chickfield Church, turn left, and I knew it as Mass Ave, Stores Corner Road,
Yeah.
like this. Well, that has several sand pits, logging operations. Even when I want to go to Moultonville Road, go that way. Well, that road is a little bit like our Sodom Road, our Durgan Road. It's higher truck traffic. And I was told, and it's been verified, one car goes over Ledge Hill Road and one tractor trailer load of chips goes over, and it's 30,000 times. It's equal to 30,000 car trips. And I guess you're shaking your head that, you know, that's accurate. Well,
Yeah.
And my point was, and his recommendation is like Shirley Way, which is 32 homes on it, and it's a circle, and there's not through traffic other than a truck going up to deliver shingles.
Yep.
You know, it's not truck traffic. Well, the SAM process would work, he thought would work good there.
Yeah.
Did he give me good advice?
Probably, yes,
Okay.
yes. I mean, there's no way I'm gonna go.
The other thing is our road agent has talked about, part of the thing is he would like to invest more money getting back to the stone walls, especially on the south and the east side. So you have a couple of things. You don't have this shaded, protected road, and you put the proper asphalt down, and you have a better, for lack of description, more degree days during the winter that the snow is melting and the rain is melting and like this. I understand it's once I started studying up on it, it's more complicated and involved than I realized.
Yeah, I mean,
Now look healthier.
Yes, exactly.
your maintenance of the trees and that sort of thing, that's definitely a factor, and certainly a factor in terms of melting of ice and snow, and a consideration. And what this is focusing on is the pavement and its conditions, and that is certainly a factor. One of the things you might want to talk about, the volume and importance rating.
I have sent out to the road agent a spreadsheet that has every quarter-mile segment of Class 5 paved roads in this town. A few things.
Is this it?
Yes, that is it.
Have you talked to them?
I have not
Okay.
yet.
Can you leave your business card so I can have them talk to you? Because on here is 12 dirt roads,
Okay, yeah,
and there's 3 paved roads that are not listed here.
okay, yes. So those
That's
are
not meant
things.
to embarrass.
That's okay. These are things, I got this from the SAIDS database. We can,
SAIDS is through the T-squared
Yeah.
DOT.
It's a state database.
Yep.
Yeah.
so they listed these as the paved roads, but this can be altered. So we can take away some roads and we can add some roads into it as we go and do our assessment. When we're out on doing our assessments, we're going to check all the roads.
The database you used is the one where the state every year checks how many miles of paved road we have, because we get money back from the state based on that, right?
Yep.
This guy updates it every year, and they still don't get it right.
Okay. So basically, I sent this out to the road agent, and there's 3 different things that take in consideration local knowledge. So frost heaves are one thing, because when we're doing our assessments in the summertime, we're not necessarily going to know where frost heaves are. We did send somebody out from LRPC that drove the roads, and from what he knows and what he saw, he marked what could possibly be frost heaves. So I'm going to have to compare with either you guys or a road agent about the accuracy of what these are.
And we did
This
talk
was
with the
in
road
April.
agent early on about, we needed to have as much data as we could, location-wise, on where the frost heaves are, because in the summertime, you don't,
Yeah.
you're not seeing.
We sent someone out in early April, and there were still a few definitely.
Right.
But
Yes.
Okay. So that was one thing. Another thing is the local importance of the roads. So this is relevant to your town. So this is determined whether it's where the fire station is. This part of the road's really important, or it's determined by the town. Another thing is traffic volume. It's not comparing it to Manchester's traffic volume, it's comparing it to your town's traffic volume, so.
And that could also be an element that would work into with the situation, you know, if this is a heavily traveled because of the nature of the traffic, that would,
It's going to deteriorate the pavement more quickly.
It's the volume as it affects pavement.
Yep. And also, local knowledge would be the reason I have to work closely with the road agent is that these are things that I don't know because I'm not in town every day looking at the roads and traffic. So when I go to choose certain processes for pavement treatments, knowing that there are those large trucks going on certain roads, we can choose a more durable pavement treatment option. So it depends what roads you would want those more durable pavement treatment options on it. So that's one thing that I like to gather before I start my forecasting process.
Yeah, and this definitely is there's certainly the field observations that's focusing on different types of cracks, different kinds of rutting, drainage, where visible, how rough the ride is. But then it's definitely a conversation between us working on the database and you, the town, in terms of a selection of various strategies, and then working within the budget constraints that you may have, that you do have.
Right. Because
you know, one community.
I mean, we may think that this is an enormous amount of heavy truck traffic, but your pricing ranges from, let's say, $3.80 to $15.
Yep.
We have to look at, is it worth
Right.
5 times as
Yeah.
much money to pay this thing, and will it last 5 times
Right.
as long?
And one of the factors that hasn't been mentioned, that Bill was describing the software, one of the things it does factor in is how many months or how many years is this likely to give you in terms of life of the road. And the major philosophy here in doing this process is keep the good good. Once roads get to a certain point, road conditions get to a certain point, it becomes much more expensive to deal with them. And your dollar will go much further if you're really focusing on those good ones. And it should allow you to work similar to a CIP in terms of being able to smooth out some of the peaks and valleys.
Well, on that, Tufton Borough is in a unique position. First of all, we have an elected road agent. We're not paying benefits, and so that's a tremendous savings for the town, has been for years. At town meeting, at the budget meeting, at CIP, people stood up, and I don't want to use the verb throw, but wanted to add to the road budget. The other thing is there's a number of tools out there. We just finished a project where for 5 years there was a betterment easement down at Zadidar Farms where the citizens paid. We did the repairs, paving, and they paid for it. There's also a couple of laws that allow us to tack a few dollars onto motor vehicle registrations. About 11 towns and cities do that. So we're in a spot where the selectmen want to invest those dollars wisely.
Well, and also have the information to describe what we're doing.
Yes.
Right.
Because if I mean, being the member for the budget committee, I'd like to go on and say, hey, this is what $235,000 we've currently been paying for years gets you. And if we do 300,000 or 400,000, this is what additional value there is, and this is how much longer it will last. So similar to a CIP, as you said.
Yeah. And so, you'll be able to say, okay, here's the road mileage that we anticipate being able to pave or to address with maintenance and repairs over these particular years.
Do you recognize this? This is something that the pavement condition and I've gone through and highlighted the highlights. It's amazing. If road is maintained or resurfaced every 4 to 5 years. The pavement should remain in good condition. And we have 35 to 36 miles of road, and we're lucky if we get it done every 20.
Yeah, so the good thing is that we run reports that are generated through the forecasting software, and it can show you every year. It even breaks it down in full reconstruction or just maintenance, and so you can do a ratio of each every year. So you like chip away at the things that need full reconstruction. So you have a chunk of that budget every year, but not too much of it, so you can still work on keeping all of yours in
Right.
good condition.
Or if you just increase, I mean, my feeling, and I have no basis for it, but a feeling, is that we're gonna end up in the $350,000 area for that warrant article, or maybe $400,000. And that's gonna be where we live for a while to get ourselves back to an even playing field with regard to our roads, because I think it has been too long on some stretches. And it's one of the few things along with the fire department that everybody requires.
Yeah, everybody drives on them, or rides on them.
And then we can pave them with solar generating material, then we don't have electric cars.
I do have one concern. Last November, we got a copy of your culvert study. Excellent, excellent. We have 222 culverts. There are 32 that your office said are in failure. Guess what? I don't know of one of them that's slated to be repaired.
Which is the downside of having an elected road agent. But I think that we need to be a little more directed in our requirements. I mean, it's an historical position. They were all farmers and somebody had to take care of the roads.
So I think Erin needs to go over, we need to figure out, okay, she needs to spend some time going over the roads, and she brought on a map to work on that. And we previously had identified actually a couple of road segments that were in the SAID's database that they are paved roads, but obviously from your work there are a couple of others that you're going to give us some input on, and but then there needs to be some time. You've got a few questions that need to be addressed, and I think we also need to figure out, okay, as I said, typically we work directly with the road agent on this sort of thing, and would that be this case here?
It should be.
Okay.
Yes.
And we'd like to establish the best way of communicating on that.
Yeah, absolutely. Karen has his contact information.
Good.
I can give it to you. Then I think that's...
So with the culverts, as I remember, that assessment was independent of the road agent. This is not going to be independent of the road agent. The original initial assessment.
Our initial assessment, we're gonna go out and assess it, just as we did for culverts. So that brings me to this. So we have, just as we did with culverts, we have an assessment guide through, and it's a statewide guide. So it's all, we get trained the same throughout the whole state. In this guide includes all types of cracking and the severity and extent of it, potholes, the general drainage condition of the road. So if we see that there's like big indents that hold puddles of water, then we're gonna note. If you guys wanna look through these, I have a couple copies of those as well.
Yep.
We have a copy.
I think we do have, yep.
Okay, so that's what we go off of on our assessment. So every quarter mile segment we drive 3 times. Our initial drive on that segment is to get the general idea of what the cracking looks like. We drive it fairly slow. Our second time around, we're going to take a more in-depth look at the cracking, and it describes in each of these how we determine how severe or what the extent is of each of these. So it's broken down for extent in less than 10% of that quarter-mile segment is covered with cracking, or 10 to 30% or more than 30. So we follow this closely. We mark high, low, medium for every type of cracking that's listed. Our third run on our drive is going to be at the speed limit, and so we get the overall roughness of the road. So how does it feel when you drive it normally? So that's our assessment. The reason that we're going to need to speak with the road agent is the local knowledge. That's the part that we can't really accurately assess, but you guys will be able to. So.
Right.
Yeah, I just didn't want to get you into a situation where you can do it today, he can't do it till next week. You know,
Right.
Right.
They don't need an updater. It's the forecasting piece that, you know, setting up some regular means of communication on that
Yeah.
is
And the
because
reports will come to us as well as him.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
What are the letters A, B, C, D?
Those were just for our purpose. You guys can ignore that.
Yeah, that was for our purposes in terms of
How we
break things down.
They seem to be price related.
It's more condition PCI related.
So another thing is that once we do our assessment and we input all the local knowledge, then one of the things that we can do is put this into GIS and create maps on what your roads look like. So here's an example from Molten Borough. The top map is the current PCI values, and it's broken down at the legend here into 4 different categories.
PCI stands for?
Pavement Condition Index. And then the second map is 10 years from now. This is using our forecasting system. It shows us, in theory, how it's going to improve over that period of time with our
Given a
Recommended strategy.
yes.
particular
Yeah.
pavement.
So the blue and the green are the best quality, and the yellow and the red
And the
are the tougher.
numbers running along the road, what is that?
So each
Each quarter mile?
Yep,
Yep.
every quarter mile, and that's how we identify what we're talking about. And it just makes things easier for the forecasters
Sure.
and everything
Yeah.
like that.
For example, there was discussion with the Molten Borough road agent about Severance Road and which end of Severance Road are we talking about?
Yeah, and it's easier to
There
say
makes a
Severance
difference.
1.
Named after my grandfather.
Oh.
That's cool. So we can do that I create an initial PCI map, a 5-year and a 10-year. So you can see over periods of time how it's going to.
And the presumption on the 10-year is you've given them a schedule of repairs
Mhm.
or created a schedule.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they follow that schedule.
Yeah.
If they don't follow the schedule, obviously they're not going to.
Then it's going to alter. However, if we check in every year, we can't, it's interactive for us in our forecasting program that every year if you say, hey, we did all of these, this we pushed back a year. And so I can put that into the system easily and it just changes the PCI.
So some yellow might turn red for a while.
Yeah,
Gets
if,
fixed.
yep, or if you're like, hey, I have a little bit extra money this year, we're gonna bump these up a year. Or do a totally different type of treatment, then we can change that as well. So that's how we can help that stay updated.
I have a couple
Well,
of
for that
questions.
lake, we can connect all those roads. couldn't we?
Right.
At the TAC meeting, we've gone over to around Newfound Lake and Boyd Smith. Do you recognize that name? What is his title? He is the person who
The Newfound Lake
association, and it's my understanding that they work hard to how they shed water that comes down, like Ledge Hill Road, Curtis Road and whatnot like that. And they seem to have had a great deal of success with catch basins, correct?
I don't know the detail on that.
Catch basins, you no longer have ditches, you have one every 50 feet. The road is safer, but you're removing the moisture under the road. I've been told that it takes 3 to 5 years for a roadbed to dry out after a catch basin is put in. As long as you have moisture underneath, like Ledge Hill Road, it's gonna, create issues. So, have you worked with him? Or?
Not on that issue.
I found him to be excellent to listen to. It was only for an hour, but boy, he captured my attention.
Are we studying the underlying roadbed in this?
This is
Okay.
strictly a pavement.
So we're not drilling course intervals?
No, no, this is not an engineering study. I mean, yes, drainage is one of the major factors in affecting the pavement condition.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I created a map of Tufton Borough, of the paved roads. Let's see. Okay, and then the dots in this map are where our staff member thought there may be frost heaves. And there's
Sort of the yellow dots, a fair number over here
And
in
we're missing a
Melvin.
few.
We've got Melvin Village.
Durkin Road.
If you
Let's draw.
want to, you guys can draw all over that. If you know where.
Is there an
general
aggregate
thing.
number? Is there an aggregate number?
Lots.
No,
And
she doesn't have that. For example, over here, well, in terms of that pavement, in the database originally, this is
Can you look
what
at your
development
data?
is that? Yeah, Dame Road has a bunch of it. This was originally showing up as unpaved. So, no, I know that that's paved.
that is paved.
Yes.
That's correct.
There's some frosties in there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Culverts.
Poorly
The
built.
Lamprey Lane is not paved. Lang Pond Road is not paved. Burley Road is not paved. Phineas Graves Road is not paved.
Right, so
Sentinel Lodge Road is not paved.
it's not paved into the valley?
Well,
No.
this is
Canaan Road is-
Canaan
Canaan
Road,
Road
and
is-
it's
okay.
paved down beyond,
Right, it goes beyond.
down here, and then it becomes unpaved. So the pavement actually extends on beyond Sentinel Road, but Sentinel is dirt all the way.
I listed all
Yeah,
12.
County Road is dirt here.
This section of County Road is dirt, okay?
Like I said, when we're driving these, part of our assessment, there's one button we can push and we either say paved, unpaved. And if it's unpaved, we don't go further with the assessment, we just update that.
Right.
And then
Okay.
it'll be updated in the database.
Yep.
And
Should you mention another road?
Phineas Graves is dirt, okay?
Sawyer Road's dirt.
Yeah.
Zadida Farms is paved.
Yeah.
These frosties that you listed on Mitchell are culverts. That's what
Okay.
it is up and down.
Yep.
Burley Road and I think the
That's-
pavement ends just
Yeah,
about.
Burley Road's
Yeah.
not paved.
Right.
So the road out to Camp William Lawrence, which was out here.
Mill Road's not paved.
What's that?
Mill Road's not paved.
Mill Road.
Off of Melvin Village High Street. Northwoods Road is not paved. Off of 109. Number 9 Road.
Yeah.
Off of Baxter Woods is not paved.
Mhm.
Old Town Road is not paved.
Back some distance. Curtis Road's not paved.
I don't think, do they have Old Town Road listed as paved? Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
they do,
yeah.
right there. So this is dirt.
Sawyer Road is not paved,
Right.
and Winterboro Road is not paved. Not all of it.
No, no, it's paved, this section of Winterboro is paved.
Paved
Yep.
past the
Yep,
basin.
Yep. Yep.
That would be great showing.
Sometimes
Eagle
it
Mirror-
will
Eagle Mirror's
show
not
that
paved,
it's
though.
paved if it's even the first like 200 feet
Yeah.
of the
Yeah.
road. It'll say that it might be
Eagle Mirror's
paved,
dirt.
but
Right.
yep.
Cross Neck, doesn't that get paved all the way down to the lake?
Just about.
That's down to here, and I think that's.
So you said these are not frost tubes, correct?
Well,
They're cold-
they
they're
feel like
culverts.
cross tubes, but it's right across the road. They're
Okay.
culverts.
Mhm.
Are there any other locations you can think of that might be like
Well, yeah, I think Jim can certainly give you
Yeah.
better information on.
Plowing.
that? Okay,
It's good to tell
Yeah.
them a lot.
Okay.
alright.
Cross tubes are.
Now, the equipment for doing this, we've learned will not be available from T Squared until later next week. So it's not like we're going to be able, we should not be able to.
We're not starting today.
Not starting today, it's a beautiful day for it.
Yeah.
But we had hoped to be able to do that, but they gave us word that, no.
We're all signed up, right, our contract's signed.
Yes, we got that. Yeah. And any other questions on this?
Are we gonna go talk about guardrails?
Yep.
Because for some reason, the town of Ospey has guardrails, which I find delightful.
Yeah. Yeah.
Are they a lot more expensive than steel?
That I don't know. I don't
Certainly
know.
like this
I've
board.
talked with the road agent
There
about
is a-
our guardrails, and what he has told me, because I said, gee, they got these nice wooden ones up there.
Yeah.
He said, what I deal with is if it's steel, I'm not gonna re-engineer it, I'm gonna
Yeah.
replace it with what's there. So,
I did happen to drive through there in Melbourne Village.
on County Road, across that
Yeah.
bridge is usually the one that's got
Yeah.
wooden on it, right?
And it's showing a little wear and tear.
Yep.
I know that at the state level, there's an effort to move, I believe, from the wire to steel.
Mhm.
They didn't say anything about wood. This is the SAGE program under which the culverts assessment and this program fall is in the process of development of a guardrail program. They don't have it fully set. They've got their guide for DOT and they're piloting it at DOT. We have said we've gotten a bit of input from them, but and it's probably the full guardrail assessment program is probably more than is necessary here. So our sense is we've come up with 6 or 8 attributes that we could measure in GPS and photograph, and come up with assessments of what you have. Based on that and based on what input we can get from T Squared and DOT about their process. Again, this would not be making recommendations about
or costing replacements, but.
No,
but-
no, it
no,
would be
well,
establishing a
I-
benchmark.
In my opinion, there's good value in getting an accurate record of what we have today. I know just
Yeah, 'cause
driving
I don't
around
think
town,
that-
we've got a number of guardrails that are in pretty bad shape.
I don't remember seeing a guardrail replacement in the last decade.
Yeah,
So obviously there's gonna have to be some work at some time.
Right,
As you say, the more information,
yep,
the better off we are.
yep.
and I think we can,
And so, starting with the inventory of what we have today, then we can start looking at alternatives. And I'm with you, I mean, the wooden ones are very interesting to me. I don't know if they're certainly aesthetic, and I presume that they're designed to be functional, so that if you run into it with your vehicle, you don't go over the culvert.
right,
And it may be they're more economical than the steel ones, but,
I just, yeah. I mean,
So-
We have a scenic town.
we,
It would be nice to,
yeah, that might be something you can ask at your at the TAC meetings, as to, the,
they just did
Might-
a series of them over there at Annie Nichols Road where.
yes, yeah,
And it's,
Yep.
I mean,
yeah,
historically, that's Door Street, which is not necessarily the high rent district of Osgood,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
but they're taking care of it.
yeah.
It's
Yeah.
nice.
okay, well, we can draw something up, I think.
Is that another study?
We could put that on as an addendum to this
Yeah.
RSMS.
Young,
Um,
get it done.
I think we priced it out to under a couple $1,000s added on to what was already
Okay.
done. If we can, I can put together a small contract.
Yep.
If you're okay with that.
Yep, that would be great. It's, that added to what we've already got in this
Yeah,
contract and within what we budgeted for this
Culverts,
year.
pavement, and guardrails,
Right.
and we had the roads handled at the top.
Mhm. So what types of things are you looking for in the inventory of guardrails? So the material type is one,
Generally, they're steel.
okay.
Yeah,
Just the
yeah.
condition.
Let's say, yeah, location, type, condition,
Okay,
Is there a methodology of, hey, you need to put a guardrail here and you don't there?
Is there a, I'm sorry,
Is there a methodology that the drop off of the slope of the road is such? Is there a methodology that you need a guardrail here, but you don't need one there?
depends on who lives there. I mean,
yeah. I'm guessing Aaron doesn't know that.
I
but-
do not know that.
Yeah,
I know in Scotland, there's no need for guardrails anywhere. Right? Heard of them, but it's up to where we have them all over the
Right.
place.
Apparently going up Mount Washington either.
Yeah, you don't need it up there.
They
Maybe
don't
it's
have
an
so
elevation.
scary.
yeah,
Maybe you make
The
it
general
slow down a
condition
little
of
bit.
maybe,
Yeah.
I don't know if anybody's got a record of when that stuff went in. I mean, how old is this?
I know they made repairs at Dame Road 8 years ago or 9
Yeah.
years ago. So it was, but it's been damaged by
Well,
the
that's because of
snow.
the flood. Right.
well, I think that.
And there was an accident, truck
Yeah.
went through it.
The most impact that we have on the guardrails in Tufton Borough, just based on my observation, what I see, is probably the same as with the state, and that is moving snow. You know, as you're pushing snow, that moves the guardrails,
Mhm.
bends them up and that sort of
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah, since we've had this conversation, I've looked at a few that we have around town. And
None
drove
of them
down-
look very good.
Drove down
Union Wharf, they're a
Wharf,
mess.
there were a few of them that
Yeah.
have a few dings in
Yeah.
them.
Yeah,
Yeah, so, I mean, we talked about the general condition and location and measurements in terms of height and
Yeah.
length.
That's great.
The different types of materials of the beams or whatever is holding them together, and the post materials and conditions. And then photos to
And photos
document,
would, yep. Yep.
and GPSing where they are. Are the things that we would be looking for.
How many hours do you think that the former study of pavement will take? Is this a 40-hour a summer job, or 20-hour, or
The driving the roads will be done over a few days, over several days
3, 4.
during the week, during May. And then the forecast
So
is
that's
really what takes time.
no more than 10
That's-
hours, right?
Well, it'll be about probably, you estimated, what, 4?
It's like 4 8-hour days.
And
And,
then the forecasting is.
and how many hours of local help will you need? Either from a road agent or resultant?
It depends. It depends. So I have to get a lot of information out of either you guys or Jim, and I have to start the forecasting process, and then it may run smoothly where every road, I have a guideline that I work with, and let's say like if the PCI is above this, then we're gonna do this type of treatment. Like if it's straightforward like that, if we get specific where certain roads need certain pavement treatments, then going through that might take some time.
Yeah.
So,
I mean,
And the more
you've got-
historical information you have, the better. I mean, you need to know, I would think, if this section of road was done 2 years ago, and now you're looking at your pictures and it's down in the 40s, what's happening? I mean, if we've done paving on a road recently, it's been in our paving schedule, I would think that would be,
we typically do
Important.
what's happened in the past year, so I can put that in, and then I start forecasting from there.
okay.
So we know what, like if we say a road is in perfect condition, I can put it as you've done this to this road, and then move forward. Same with if you have projects for late after we do the assessment, but this year, I'm gonna put those in already, so we assess them as if it's that, you know what I'm saying?
Now, I have a technical question. As I understand it, on average, a paved road has a crown and 2% slope, correct? And a dirt road is 4% slope, correct? My question is, would we shed more water if we went with a 3% slope from the crown?
I don't know that. I would presume so, yes.
I mean, it sheds water faster.
It's the esoterica of a road. My only question would be that it doesn't really back up our historical effort if you're only going back a year. So then that's a job we have to do. So if you're recommending, for instance, this Dame Road is that's a certain condition, and we look at our records and say, well, Jesus, we paved Dame Road 4 years ago.
Yeah.
What happened?
Yep.
I mean, that's when we need to have a longer discussion about what we're.
And that would perhaps work into that discussion of, okay, on the couple miles of Dame Road, what sort of work did you do 4 years ago? You know, it probably was not in the greatest condition, and maybe they just did a shim and an overlay on it and said,
The other thing is that,
as opposed to it really needing some work underneath to address that drainage or.
the other thing about Dame Road in the last decade, the use has changed dramatically. 109A and Ledge Hill Road were so bad for so long that even the state trucks, when they went from their shop to someplace on 171, the fire trucks, they just pound over that road. In the last 10 years, the neighbors say the traffic has just been exponentially increased.
Yeah, and so that all feeds in, and Yeah, we were looking for, on that spreadsheet we've distributed, we are looking for a 1 to 5 rating on each one, but then there is space for notes, or tell me more. So the more input that can be given to that, the better. And so that'll be, field work will be done in May, forecasting will probably be done later in the summer, throughout the summer.
Thank you for the time.
But it sounds like we will have finished study by the time we're in the budget season.
Yes.
Okay, good, that'll be very helpful in
Yep.
terms of next year.
Yeah. I did get a note asking that there was interest in traffic counters, municipal traffic counts.
Where were we on that? Because the chief was gonna put his sign out there, I thought.
And he's
There
got
was a
these-
speed.
Yeah, he's got the sign out, I know. You do have a,
We conduct traffic counts. We put out the boxes and the rubber tires. We do that at about 150 locations around the state each season. We can do them for municipalities. We typically they're looking at either what type of vehicles are driving over these, what direction
And you
is
did
the
Lang
flow.
Pond, it was very expansive.
Okay, and sometimes communities are looking for speed counts. I can leave this sheet and a sample report.
I have a question. At one point, you were talking at some facilities, twice a year, summer and non-summer, do a count of traffic in and out of their facility.
Yeah.
Is that anything that you're interested in? Or you need, or is it really, doesn't affect you? Want to give it some thought?
Yeah, how long a period of time do you leave these up for?
Typically a week, although we can do it for.
And they're self-powered?
They're solar powered, yeah, or a long-term battery. They do it, they make a recording every 15 minutes. And
It tells the size of the vehicle.
there are 14 different classes of vehicles, so it can just usually in Lakes
It
Region.
worked great on Lang Pond Road because when I was first here, we put a load limit on it and a speed limit and, had a public session. And, there were comments that there was 100 dump trucks going 60 miles an hour a day. Come to find out there were 4 trucks bigger than a pickup truck a day, for the week that you were there. So, and it was expansive by weight, direction, etc.
Yeah.
Speed.
For us, it would just be info for how much usage we get at the facility.
Can you have a conversation when you go to the
Yeah.
transfer station?
Sure.
Okay.
We always
Yeah.
have a conversation.
Yeah.
But, so there are the materials, there's pricing on that, and
great.
we have our guys just started their routine, and if you have a special request, we can either work it into the schedule.
Great.
I will say that all the towns around the lake that you have done speak highly of Lakes Region Planning Commission, so thank you.
Okay, cool.
Thank you. Thank you for stopping by.
You betcha.
Thanks, Dave.
Thanks.
Thanks, Eric.
Thank you.
Nice to see you smile.
You betcha.
Yeah. And Carrie will get with you. Carrie will get with you before.
Yep.
Nice job, folks.
Have a good one.
Go.
All right.
Travel some.
All right, let's move on to the signature file.
Bye now.
Clay needed something?
Can I ask a question?
Yes, I'm sorry.
Say something. I had heard that we were looking into joining a group with consolidated pricing around the lake for oil and heat. I would just ask that you take into consideration the municipal employees could get a discount using the people that we use. Okay? If we change, then we lose that.
Well, I think it's a requirement that we're putting on the bid, isn't it?
So I asked, they couldn't, I asked and they couldn't.
Propane, our employees save $1 a gallon.
It's a major savings for us.
Yeah, I wanted everybody in town to get it.
Right, and we wouldn't, I mean, that would be they won't switch every year, you know, I got an underground tank, and you gotta sign the tank over, you gotta do all that other stuff. So, I would just ask that we take that into consideration, before we just jump into something, which could be good. But at the same time, we're getting a really good deal from who we're with. A really good deal.
We still need to keep everybody honest, so I think it's good to go through the process, and then before we make a decision, obviously, we gotta look at all the
It's gonna be priced
conditions.
with this group buy, but that doesn't mean that we're committed to.
And the only reason I came in front of you and asked you is the date that decision is gonna be made too late for us to get in to who we have? You understand what I mean?
I know what I mean, yeah.
Is that company is our company that we're dealing with now gonna give us their best price before you have to make a decision? Because if the date that you have to make a decision to join this other group is after the closeout of the pricing for who we have now, then we're screwed.
I don't think by joining the group, we're making a decision that we're gonna absolutely go with them in purchasing, are we?
But the results won't be done till mid-June. And additional things can be added by municipalities after the pricing is added, because I've worked with the gentleman regarding what the bid and everything. And I mentioned municipal employees and things like that, and it is something we can ask for after, individually with the companies, if you guys decide to go with whatever they get. But it's not part of the bid, but we can individually, as a municipality, negotiate that.
Something that's still in the mix.
Yeah, but I know what Clay means. If we don't hear from them till June 15th, then what? And then the prices are too high, what are we gonna get from our current vendor?
Yeah.
I don't know the answer to that, but we're committed now to not do anything until then, so.
And you made an excellent point. Your infrastructure, who owns it, and one company buys it from another, and
Right,
it gets
exactly.
more involved than just filling your tank full of
Right.
gas.
I would say it'd be all well and good to join the group and everything, but let's stay with the company we're with, at least for this year. Because if we miss that pricing, that's a major hit.
It was a lot of work with the fire department too,
That's a
switching them
major hit,
over
I know.
and Eastern buying the tanks, and it was a lot of work,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, and if you go changing that, and we go to somebody else, all those tanks have to be signed over to the next, and that's a
Yeah.
major, I mean, it was a 6-week process for me to get mine done. They have to come out and they have to inspect it, and they have to inspect it. I mean, and then you gotta wait for them to get through their legal and contractual obligations to sign it off. So,
Okay.
that was just an input.
Okay, yep.
Thank you for your efforts, Glenn.
Yep. Okay, first item in the signature file, we had a letter from Nancy Goodham with a concern over potential pollution of the Great Meadow from the closed landfill. And I asked Karen to put together a letter back to her that lets her know, number one, that we got the letter from her and appreciate the input, that the Conservation Commission brought this particular situation to us last December, and as a result of that, the Conservation Commission and Stantec are now monitoring in that particular area and identify what the source of that apparent surface pollution is, and see if any additional steps would be necessary on that. So it's good to know that she's aware of it, but fortunately the Conservation Commission's on top of it, and we got started on it already this year. So
And we haven't gotten the results from the monitoring back yet.
we have not, and
It's my understanding there's been some preliminary observations and testing. It's not 3 Mile Island, there aren't dead animals, there's not, et cetera, so.
But it's still there.
But it's,
Yep.
it's
So
something.
I'll make a motion that we sign that letter.
I'll second.
Nancy, do it.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Next, I have two notices of intent to cut timber. One for 66-2-70, and the other is for 39-1-4 and 39-1-16. So,
I have no issues with you.
all right.
All right, I'll make a motion that we sign the intent to cut.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
What is today, the 3rd?
The 7th.
7th?
Yep.
Jesus, no wonder I'm not
Next, I have an application for a veteran's credit
On this letter,
for
Excuse me.
a veteran with permanent, total and permanent disability.
anyway, it should be, John Tucker Road, John Box, P.O. Box 98.
And so this would be a
Surviving spouse and a disability.
Hmm?
It's a surviving spouse of 700 and then
and the
disability of 2 grand.
Okay. So you're recommending approval of that, correct?
Yes,
And it will be effective in 2019.
that's correct.
All
All
right.
right, I'll make a motion that we sign that.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep.
Excuse me.
Go ahead, sir.
All right. Selectmen's update. Jim?
Well, I didn't go on the road trip, but I'm gonna read into the record the Hurlburt, language from the Hurlburt Trust, which was brought to
All right.
And in that, section E of the Hurlburt will effectively says that trustees shall be an attorney or lawyer practicing in the town of Hillsborough, Tufton Borough. an executive officer of a bank who's placed in business in the town of Wolfboro or Tuftonboro, and a member of the Board of Selectmen or other governing body of the town of Tuftonboro or Wolfboro. But at least one of the trustees shall be a resident of the town of Tuftonboro. So currently there is, Carolyn Sundquist was our representative. She's no longer a selectman, so we need to decide to put a selectman on there, I guess, because it has to have a resident of the town of Tuftonboro and a selectman or other governing body of the town of Tuftonboro. So the information that was in the letter from Carolyn, I think, only reflected she'll be a resident of the town of Tuftonboro, but it really is a little more specific than that. And I guess currently it's Bob Varney, who qualifies as an attorney, and Brad Guile, who was a
bank executive.
Head bank executive. I don't know if he still is or not. So
Yeah.
So those are the two trustees currently, and I don't mind volunteering. If that would, well, one thing that seems to have missed everybody's calculation is it pays $600 a year.
Yeah.
So it inures to a benefit to that particular selectman unless we decide we're going to split it 3 ways. I mean,
I have no problem.
I'm a little uncomfortable just saying I'll volunteer, not telling you that this thing actually comes with a paycheck.
It's hardly a huge paycheck.
No, I appreciate that, but I just,
Well, I think because the trust is to benefit the towns of Tuftonboro and Wolfboro, but Hurlburt was from Wolfboro, it's important that this board that the trustees include a strong voice from the town of Tuftonboro to make sure that
Who's a native?
that distributions, appropriately embrace folks here in the town of Tuftonboro. So
yeah, and I know that they've been to the library and
Yeah.
and Lloyd.
I think I got a
He
scholarship
may have got a
52 years ago. So.
Yeah.
I remember Bud Hurlbut from the
Crossneck Road.
Crossneck Road, yeah.
Yeah, that's really nice.
Yep. All right.
Without objection, I'll move that Chip Albee be appointed.
And I'll second that.
And for purposes of discussion, I have no problem with you earning the
Well,
fantastic fee.
and I don't know what I'd do with it. I'd probably give it to the trustees or something, but it just scrub my taxes.
Yeah.
Well, no, you've been straightforward about it. I don't view that as an issue.
All right. So we'll notify them.
Yep. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you for stepping up.
Yep.
Yeah, I'll regret it, I'm sure.
Yep. All right.
I'm good for
Now you have an excuse, right?
Now you have an excuse, exactly.
All right. Anything else?
That's it.
Lloyd?
June 1st is when we fill our committees. Could we, with your permission, ask Karen to do an inventory and contact the chairman, some
Good idea.
type thing? Now, some towns, what they do is they advertise in the newspaper for volunteers who want to step forward, but that's what you folks want to do. The next
know how many we need to fill, I guess.
Well, I know there's 2 on the Conservation Commission
Right.
and whatever. And of course, that involves also reappointing current members who, and I don't know how to say this nicely, but I'd like to ask Karen to please ask the chairman to consider attendance. If you have someone that's been unable to attend for a year or is going to be gone all winter, it creates a snafu, in my opinion. So I don't know how to nicely approach that, but it's just a thought. Next thing I'd like to talk about is we have a copy of the auditor's report. I'd like to send a copy to the treasurer. And if you turn to page 38, I highlighted 2 things, and I'll read into the record. We noted that online credit card payments for motor vehicle permits had not been deposited into the town's bank account from July 17th through the February 18th. Come to find out the town wasn't aware of this. We recommend that the general ledger be balanced so that the cash accounts and any variance be investigated and resolved immediately. It's my understanding that all people have worked with the treasurer and the missing money has been accounted for and has been accredited and the situation's been corrected. You know, this was nobody's fault. This was going credit card payments was a new way of helping our citizens. And the reason we have audits is to make sure it goes smoothly. So there's nothing nefarious here. The second thing is, on page 38, is that the Governmental Accounting Standards Board, GASB, statement number 75 entitled Accounting and Financial Reporting for Post-Employment Benefits Other Than Pensions takes effect December 31st, 2018, and will require the town to report the actuarial accrued liability. I don't understand this. I spoke to Diane. She's willing to look into it for us. I think it's just another paper requirement, but
Well, I think it's
you have some
it's
experience,
showing
right?
what our liability for our retirees is
Yes.
in actual terms, and then with I think a 2.5% to 4% cost of living
Right.
or inflation.
Right.
I'm not as clear as to how much liability the town would have, given that our participation level has been increased, I think a couple of times in the
Yes.
last few years.
And it's state mandated. It isn't town. We're not like some cities and towns that are self-financed.
Well, it may be that,
Well, we should have zero liability.
yeah,
Because our,
it may be that this whole thing is sort of perfunctory, but if it's if it's a requirement that it be stated, then we need to understand what it is and make sure that that requirement is met.
yeah.
Okay. Here again, it's rather interesting. Pending job performance reviews, we have one from March, one from April, and 3 are due in May. And I know that we received some paperwork, so that's a work in progress. The next thing is, it's going to be summer before long. When should we wrap up the status of the parking ordinances, Mr. Chairman?
I think we ought to do it sooner rather than later.
Should that be a work session, or is it a public hearing? Or?
The chief had to make a couple of
He
corrections.
had to make a couple of corrections, and we can, once he does that, we can put it on the agenda for next Monday. And get it off to the attorney.
Yep. Okay.
And
back.
yeah, Monday's gonna be busy, because we really need to look at this auctioneer thing. Get back to those guys.
Yep.
Do we want to do that on a work session Friday, or it means another meeting? But
I think Monday's fine. I don't know, unless,
Well, either way,
it would just be nice to get that. I'd like to see a sale in June,
yep,
if we could.
yep.
Because then our, we're going into the summer and into the fall with
Yes.
a clear idea of what our revenues were.
Yep.
Status of filling the budgeted position for the front office, the part-time person. Are we going to move forward with that, because vacations are going to be coming up here? And
Right. We need to put an ad in the paper for that.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. It makes sense that we make that happen sooner than later. To shift gears, I understand that the code enforcement truck has disappeared, so obviously we've got our money. Okay. And the status of lifeguards, have you heard, Karen, about that? I saw the
Of any new applicants?
yeah.
No, that I don't.
And who handled?
They would be sent to the aquatics director, that goes right to them.
Okay.
And then the waterfront director who we talked to on the phone.
Yeah, that's him, yeah, same thing, yeah.
Okay. It's just that, by the time you do criminal record record checks and stuff like that, we don't need it to be August. The other thing
It's
is,
cool for swimming, yeah.
yes, the other thing is, when do we meet with the road agent to go over the
Today.
myriad of issues we have pending with him? Number one is budget.
Highway Department, update, Jim Beam,
Yep,
Yeah,
9:35.
he was
Did
sick.
you miss it?
He was sick.
yep,
He was sick?
You want me to try to put him on next week?
He's gotta come in,
yep.
yeah. Yeah, 'cause we,
It's gonna be more than 15 minutes.
well, let's limit our other appointments. I mean, the auctioneers, we gotta do it non-public anyway.
Yes.
Right.
Who else, who would we be meeting with, Karen, next week?
I think police and fire, because it's kind of a funny month because of the holiday.
Yep,
I think it's police and fire next week.
yep. So, how about Friday morning? Let's do a Friday morning work session.
What time?
And, no, 9 o'clock? 9 o'clock work for you?
I don't know how sick is he, is he gonna make it Friday? I'm fine with Friday, but.
Friday,
Yeah.
Friday the 11th with Jim.
I'll let you negotiate it, okay,
Yep.
Karen?
Yep. And,
So
and we can do the, 9 o'clock, and we can do the auctioneer, do two things on Friday, get that knocked out.
Then I-
Yep,
yeah, okay.
That's all I can.
Yeah, it's, I gotta drive on Friday, so 9 is good.
you have what?
I have to drive on Friday, so 9 is good.
Okay, all right,
8:30 is a little early.
yep,
I'd have another one. Highway funding. I've come up with the new sheet that's been updated and verified. And it talks about the latest legislative action. The other thing is the Volkswagen diesel settlement has been accepted by the legislature.
mhm,
That's the one that would help us purchase a diesel vehicle. So,
But not a Volkswagen.
no, no.
no,
Okay. Thank you.
all right. The only thing I want to mention is we had a public presentation and input session last Monday night on the community solar program over at the fire station. I'd say we had probably about a dozen people show up, which is always hope for more, but is what it is. Looked at a number of proposed locations for the solar arrays. There was a lot of good questions, some opinions offered. Since then, we've had input from the cemetery trustees saying they would be opposed to placing an array in front of the cemetery up at the end of the. Yep, yep. And had input from another individual questioning the installation of a solar array. Now, I didn't say this, but I presume he's talking a ground-mounted solar array on the impact of the rural character of the area. So there are several alternatives for installation, in both ground-mounted and roof-mounted for the panels. So, as I say, it was good to see some folks show up, and we're going to try and have another input session. It probably will be into early June at this point, as we look forward, get some more exposure from folks. Yeah. You were there. What was your impression from the folks that were in attendance?
First of all, collegial. Second of all, informational. There are people who are passionate and spoke their passions, and it served the purpose. All of these things continue to be open. It's also on YouTube if you want to watch it.
Yep.
No, it's a work in progress. So.
Okay, so let's go to correspondence. All right, taking care of the Hurlburt Trust. The meeting schedule for the second half of the year is set now.
And this schedule takes into account the voting days, Karen?
That's what the changes were,
Yeah.
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 Good job.
So we have, if we want a day to work on budgets, September 11th, we're going to be at the polls all day. We're working on a lot of budgets that day.
Primary day.
Yep, that's right. Next, I have a request for abatement of yield tax on a property. The yield tax was for $49.24.
This is storm cleanup.
And this is storm cleanup
Yeah.
of the property. And so they have a note from the tax collector saying that she feels it is a good faith to offer an abatement of the tax here, since it's
And what tax number?
it's on 62-1-5.
Also move, Mr. Chairman.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Thank you. Next item we have, postage meter. The lease on the current postage meter runs out at the end of this month. And I have here a copy of a proposal from an alternate supplier. I guess there are two companies that are in the postage meter business, Formax and Pitney Bowes. And as of Friday afternoon, we still had not gotten a proposal from Pitney Bowes for,
And when does the
A new
current
con-
one end?
and it's the end of this month. And what this note says is that we need to decide now, because it takes several weeks to get the,
Well, if we decide on.
if we decide on this company, it will take several weeks to get it in place before the other lease runs out. And Karen, do you know if Diane ever heard anything back from Pitney Bowes?
I do not know if you heard anything from them.
So-
I know that the selling point for the office and this company was this company's very receptive customer service wise. Pitney, and you know, you get an individual, Pitney Bowes, you're transferred and on hold and waiting for a call back for a couple days and things like that.
I've heard the same report from neighboring towns.
What are we currently paying?
It's slightly more, I think, well, this is based on the current prices because we haven't received the new Pitney Bowes pricing yet.
Right.
So, based on current pricing, I think it was $10 more a month, something like that.
To go to Formax?
Yeah.
Yep.
And it would be option 2, correct?
It would be option 1, is what she's talking about. The basic, we can upgrade.
It's a 60-month lease. It's a New Hampshire state contract at $136.99 a month quarterly billing. That's option 1.
Yep. So, we ought
And we have money in the budget.
to move forward and get this thing done. I do know we've had ongoing issues with getting postage added from Pitney Bowes into the machine when we need it, that sort of
And it
thing.
takes 2 to 3 weeks for the new company to get the equipment in here.
So I will move that we approve lease with Formax for their option 1.
Second.
Any further discussion?
Okay.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right. All right. Now, I have here some ongoing thread with respect to the fuel invitation to bid program, and it's a couple weeks old. I think, Karen, he's all set with what he's going out with now, is that correct?
Yes, and then if you folks had any further input to the draft RFP, he would take it. I think I think it's being sent out the 15th of this month? I forget now. You have time anyway if you have anything you want to add. I mentioned to him about how the RFP didn't say that any individual municipality could opt out. It kind of made it sound like all or nothing.
Yeah.
So he incorporated that change, so it would be clear.
Yeah.
Although of course it's not as good as the people bidding, that you might not get all the municipalities, but it needed to be clear that they might not.
If they're aggressive in their pricing, they'll get us all.
Right, exactly.
That's the whole idea, but I don't
Yep.
think we should be bound to a contract that might not be as advantageous.
Exactly.
Right.
This still allows us to make a final decision.
Right.
There's no commitment at this point.
All right.
We'll let you go forward.
So I think,
Investigation.
all right. So, let's see, we had some additional correspondence back from Mr. McWhirter, wanting to know if we'd taken any action on his suggestion with respect to incorporating the police station with the fire station and combining the police department with the fire department. I guess I'd say we took his suggestions under advisement, and
Well,
as we go forward.
we're kind of limited by statute. I mean, there are budgetary requirements that we
There-
have to live with it. and-
We're limited by statute, we're limited, I think, by practicality.
We're also,
When the fire and rescue facility was built, initially it was proposed as a joint facility, and then didn't pass a town meeting, was scaled back to a fire-only facility, and I don't know if it's physically possible to, where it's located, to append additional space onto what's there. He had mentioned in his earlier correspondence that it would eliminate duplication of things like training rooms. I don't know that the police facility would even include a training room. So I think it's fine to consider the alternatives,
he was
but
on
we are.
that committee. He was on that committee.
Yeah,
That
right.
voted for a fire station.
Right. So, all right. So enough said about that, I guess. All right. The library had a student art exhibit opening last Friday, 4:30 till 6.
Well attended.
It was well attended. Here's cemetery trustees expressing their opposition to a large array situated in front of the cemetery. And then opposition to the proposed solar array because of the importance of maintaining a rural character in the town. That was Mr. Pike. We need to review and accept the financial report. Have you all had a chance to look at it?
I have, I've read it.
All right.
In
I've read
fact,
it.
I'll make a motion that we accept.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion passes. I have here a draft beneficiary mitigation plan, and this came to us from Susan Slack at LRPC. Lloyd, you're somewhat familiar with this, I think?
I have not had a chance to read that.
All right. Can you give us a 30,000 foot view
I'd have to read it again, I'm not going to.
Okay, all right.
Let's just enter it into the record,
Yep.
okay?
All right, so this is, the title of the document is State of New Hampshire Draft Beneficiary Environmental Mitigation Plan dated April 10th, 2018. And it's a
So we'll read it.
Yep.
24-page document.
Yep. Oh, I'm going to do it.
All right. We have various other correspondence. I don't know which I think we need to
Bigger.
jump into here. Any other business
All right. Yep.
for today's meeting?
We're good.
Okay.
Come on.
We do need a short non-public to do a quick
We have
review
some,
on a,
we have some cases in Manila folders. Just legal updates. Nothing public.
yeah. I don't think there's anything new. This is, oh, maybe it is
Is
new.
there anything we need to talk to Jack about because he's been involved in some of those negotiations?
I don't think so. I don't know if there's anything we need to, any particular action on at this point. So, any public input? All right, we need a motion to go into
And we adjourn the
non-public.
public and we go into non-public for, is it job performance review?
Job performance review.
Okay, and I make the motion.
I'll second.
Would yes?
Marcus, and yes.
I'll be yes, I'm sorry.
All right,